Welcome to another episode of What If Civilization Started Over? And last episode we had the beginning of the first Great War. Of course we had a small war between red and blue all the way back at the beginning, but this is starting to be a really great war. We had reds taking a part of light blue's area, but they thought it was from dark blue. So that accidentally started a war between red and blue. So let's see what will happen today. We begin our story where dark blue set foot on nowadays Italy and starts to invade the red area right here. They are managing to get a great part of Italy and also start to go upwards, but they eventually cannot go further because the first armies are arriving. Back at the blue and green border, the green army is taking over a good portion of blue. But blue is not that stupid, of course. They cross this water and land here and capture a great amount of land right here. They start to go upwards, and in the meantime, the green army is heading towards the capital. Luckily, the blue team can sort of hold them back where the original border was, and they also just head up north when they eventually meet the other armies. They also start to get into their territory where the lime team, or well green, eventually was, and they capture all the armies. They go along the coast and down below towards the capital and kill the king. But when all this happens, the red team finally is able to fight back and gets a great portion of Italy back. They reunite with their older area and they are starting to fight back the dark blue men. But while this happens, there was an army slowly approaching this part of the red king's territory, and they eventually get into their territory via up north. They invaded and are trying to capture this major settlement. They eventually get it. They are so successful up north because all the guards went down below. Red didn't really knew that the blue army was also up here in the north. Blue is also able to fight back the red army and eventually just capture them all again. Eventually some light blue men arrive so they can fight some more. Now the blue team is coming from up north and down below, and eventually they get everyone in this area. The red king is now noticing that his area here up north is captured by the blue teams. So what he does is actually pretty smart. He still knows about a small island no one knows the red team has, and that's this one under Greece. So what they are doing is doing the following. They get on land on this island and also right here near the capital city of light blue. Of course they already are noticing that, so they are fighting back again. You don't really see that color actually. Let's make it a little bit clearer. That's better. And they fight them almost all back, but not all. Because what the red are doing is also coming from the other side now and from other areas of the sea. The light blue team has never saw this before. Sort of navy attack. They capture all these men that were fighting here and get the land back that they originally captured. Eventually they are circling around the capital of the light blue king, and now they are in trouble. But while that was happening, the red king was again distracted and they lost a good portion of nowadays Italy and also another settlement. Blue is winning this part of Italy. Now the red team is almost gone everywhere in this part. They only are here in this small part of France and Spain. So what they are trying to do is just getting everyone back to where they came from. And they also used some boats to eventually capture another settlement here at the top of this island. And that's the third city they captured. But it was sadly not enough. The red team was able to circle around the light blue's capital city. And now it was captured. The red team had two major cities in hands. While that happened, the blue team was also really close towards this blue city, and they almost captured it, but they were almost not able to anymore. What they didn't realize is that green crossed this small sea and got here in the south and captured a major settlement of the blue team. And they got so far up north that they almost were again near the capital city of the blue team. They also made a landing here. They fought back, the blue army captured, and they followed them up north towards the battlefield where they're still fighting for this major city. 2 major cities are in danger. Well, one is already captured, but no one is near the red team's area. Red team is actually pretty good here at defending their original base, but losing a lot of other places. While that was happening, the blue team got far into Spain already and almost got their, well, 4th settlement here. They weren't able to fight back here on the island. They were held back by the red army. And luckily, the light blue team, or well, Cyan actually, saved their capital. They fought so hard that the red army was now gone from Turkey nowadays. And they even captured and got this land right here where they were based. So this settlement is now gone and red was defeated in the east, but the west was still fighting. Now Cyan really got an advantage and sailed all across this part of the sea towards this part of green. And they really quickly got a settlement into the east of their landing and marched towards the capital city where dark blue was fighting green. And eventually they met up with each other and green realized we have lost. And indeed they did. The blue team, well, the blue teams captured the green king and killed him in the process. That was settled. Now only they had to go towards the red king and end all this. The blue team up here was pretty close, but their army was started to get less people. Many died along the way to get here, so they were like with few hundreds left. And finally the red team realized we have to fight back here. So they did. They fought back, but got overrun by a dozen more Cyan people that eventually came here to fight with blue. Blue and Cyan were so successful that they captured another major city of the red team. And the red king was pretty clear about this. He had to sit together with the 2 blue leaders and get with an agreement. But before that, a great portion of this side was also captured, and eventually the whole island here as well. The red king traveled towards this battlefield and spoke with one of the leaders that fought with blue, and they said, okay, let's talk. After a long fight, it also got clear here in the east that there was going to be a talk. So the blue king ventured off towards the red kingdom finally after all those years and got into a peace treaty with them. This is what it eventually was looking like. Dark blue got a great portion where red once lived. They got a good portion of it. I see a little bit of light blue still. Oh. Green had to remove their capital towards the red area's border because blue got their old capital back where they originally fled from. This became just a major city, and green removed one of their major settlements and left it because it was just too far away from their capital. Cyan got a great portion of their land back and also some new land where they just agreed with blue that they could have this part and blue could have this part. So now it was all looking like this. No more war. Well, yet. The great first war ended. And they all got, well, left with a great feeling. We have what we wanted. But of course the blue team still wanted to kill the red king. But he just thought, well, maybe one day it will happen. Let's not bother it about now. 2 dangerous borders, because red and blue are bordering right here in Spain and sort of here in Italy. But it was time for some more expanding. Because red did lose a great portion of their land, they are starting to get west into Spain, into Portugal actually, and got a pretty great portion of land when they eventually headed up north and when they had to go back east. They knew there was a great portion of land still available for them. Blue got some more land, but eventually stumbled upon the Alpine Mountains, and they were like, oh god, here it's actually pretty damn hard to travel across. Also, this weather here is much better than down below. Keep that in mind. People will start to farm really great here, and just could farm much more food for their people. Blue got some more land on the coasts, and also Cyan started to just expand a little against the border of Blue, and eventually made a major settlement there, because they could. So let's say nothing really happens in a few decades. So let's see when something does happen. And also let's update the map, what the people discovered in the meantime. Firstly, Red. Red was able to get a great portion of Spain, a little bit of France as well. They also expanded their land down below in Africa. Green expanded their border with Red and almost got towards the capital city, and had small settlements along the road. It was already pretty close into the Sahara, so no really great or massive huge settlements. Cyan was able to get the whole part of Turkey, a great portion up there where they border Blue, and also a good portion of Greece. Blue down below didn't really change that much. They went to the east, but were really not interested anymore. They went south a little, but they stopped expanding, and it was hard for them to supply their part of their land into Italy. Eventually they couldn't even handle it anymore because there were more settlements popping up here in Italy. There were 4 more to feed. So eventually the leader of the Blue side went on a trip towards their other part of their land and came together with the leader that sort of ruled this part, but was like under the name of the Blue King. And they started to realize, we have to separate. We are too far away from each other, and we won't give this land towards the Reds or the Cyans. We want to just leave it alone to you, to the people that were living here. So there was a split arranged. A new country was going to pop up into the world. This blue area was now... This blue area was now Magenta. And their capital was going to be, you can guess it, right here where they captured the Reds' originally settlement. That one was already pretty good at growing. Another few decades went by and Red eventually got the whole part of Spain and even got far into France and almost into the Netherlands, where I live. Hey! They also made their border expand against the now so-called Magenta team, and actually the leader of this Magenta leader was starting to sort of really like the Red King and their doings. They started to get along. Also more settlements started to pop up here in the Red Team's area. Cyan also got 3 more in the north, and the Blue Team even got 1 to their original part, also 1 on Cyprus. So now the world was looking like this. Like nothing much was discovered yet. But a few people started to wonder what's outside of our borders. Some people of Green really wanted to venture along Red and even get more towards the south. Maybe here, where no one was been yet, or just expand their journey here in the southeast. Blue wanted to get more land as well. They lost sort of more land, but it was for a good reason. They couldn't handle it so far away from home. Cyan was pretty great. They really did like where they were, so they didn't really care about expanding. They just wanted to get better at wealth, at people, and handling people, managing their cities. And Red wants more land. They eventually ventured into nowadays called the Netherlands. Hey, where I live. And the climate was really chill there. It was much, much better than where they originally came from, down below in Morocco. So people started to settle up and send people back home to say we have found a pretty great climate. To say we have found a really great climate. To say that we found a really good climate for farming and such, because here in down Morocco they could farm, but it was hard sometimes with the dry ground and just the not many or just less rain. So you can guess it, a major settlement started to pop up here as well. But also Magenta was told of this great area and they wanted to get there as well. So what they did, they ventured into Red's territory and all the way across France they got there as well. Even some people of Cyan were able to get there as well. And they started to like it there. Like, to really like it there. And it was pretty clear. They wanted to stay there. They expanded their land. And suddenly, more settlements were starting to pop up here. Like, major settlements. Red King was not really happy. He wanted to stay down below. And just wants his people back there. But they just started to say, like, why? We are here for millennia. We wanted to just venture off. We want to just have a better climate. The Red King wasn't really happy, but then he remembered that one of his ancestors was also not really happy about people venturing far off and eventually just kill them. So what he said was, okay, shall we break away? And so they did. And this was it. The orangey-yellow team was now born. And their major settlement was going to be right here at the top, where their first settlement was. They also discovered with their technology there was an island, a great island, a Great Britain island. They started to venture there as well and got some land there. While far away south, both Green got some land more towards the south, but also Dark Blue got some land. And they realized that they both are sharing a sort of border, but in the water. Blue really wanted to get some land at the other side of this water, of the sea, of this enclave. But the Green was there first, so they couldn't really cross the sea and get some land here because Green was already here now. Blue was still not happy. They wanted just more land towards the great stuff they all heard stuff about. Cyan is there with a great portion of land. Now Magenta, they even heard about the Orange team, but they are still stuck here in the desert without really going far away and they couldn't really find good climate. They also just ventured alongside this coast where Yemen and Oman are lying. I finally know another country outside of Europe that I can really name. Egypt is easy, so yeah, why not? And they got really far in venturing. And eventually they got here. They stopped and went back home. But a few people again started to stay behind and just see what they could find here. The blue team was really going to prepare for something far in the future. They still want to go towards the red team. And a few decades pass again, but the leaders that were originally in the war, in the Great War, all passed away. And let's see how the world eventually looks like now after a few decades. And now they're sort of looking like this. We have the Orange team, the newest one, going up the furthest into the north, and they got a really cold climate but sort of liked it there and wanted to stay here. They didn't really love the hotter climate their ancestors lived in. Magenta and Orange also just sort of blocked off Red from expanding more. Purple with the sort of knowledge with we don't want a war again because of Red, so we block you off. And Orange by just saying, oh, we want this land, well, let's just take it. Red is not doing it, so why would we not do it? Cyan got pretty far up north as well, but didn't really like the cold climate, so they just left and still claim this part. And Blue is going on a great journey because they know they can just connect their land here and have this all for their own. Someone is mapping out their area and they know there is just land here, but they maybe think there's a great lake here. They don't know. And Green also blocked the Red King's area by just saying, well, I don't really want to venture off into the Sahara, into the desert. They don't call it Sahara, but we call it so. They don't want to venture off the south right here, it's just too far away. And well, let's just go to the west because we can. But now the red team is actually stuck and it cannot expand anymore longer, like nowhere. Here is the orange team, here we have the purple team, here as well, here as well. We have the cyan team here and the green team down below. They cannot expand anymore. And that's a bad thing, because the red king now really wants to expand their land. And also some more major cities start to pop up. Not many though. One in England. Let's also make their color a little bit lighter. They actually got 2 more. Well, 4. I forgot about their land here. Cyan did get a little settlement in a more southern part of their new claimed land and got a few more dotted around Cyan's originally land. Blue had a new part here as well, a new settlement here, so they could easily just cross to one another. And green placed one here right at the border with red. Why though, would you ask? And dotted around a few more. Magenta did a few as well, and there it was, the new world map. But we won't end off yet, because we need a cliffhanger. The red king was not happy about being blocked off in the south and in the north. So what he did was surprising. He took some land from Magenta. He just wants his land back, what they lost in the war decades ago. Did Magenta knew this? Not really. Not really many people were living here, and they actually just didn't really mind it at all. But this red king was more angry about what they lost many decades ago. Like, people are really mad at their ancestors for leaving parts behind and stuff. What is actually happening at the moment right now in the world. And red just started to be sort of the main villain of this story now, because they sort of wanted this and this settlement for themselves. They also started to get a little part of orange now, and people were starting to really worry, what is red doing? And also the green border had some armies lining up their borders and actually invaded a part, but it was not really inhabited. It was already not really habited. So what will happen in the next episode? Is red going on a 3-way war against orange, green and magenta? Well, we will find out in the next episode.